I picked the right live.
Now, Mr. Albert, as far as your son, Colin, do you know sort of where he was that night?
Yes, so he was at my brother Brian's house for my nephew's birthday.
And he came home sometime after you, is that correct?
Correct.
And essentially you came in, went to bed, so you know what time your son came home that night?
I know that.
Do you know, just answer yes or no whether you know.
Yes,
And how do you know that, sir?
because he opened the bedroom door and said, "Good night, guys. I love you. I'm home."
And about how long after you got home was it that your son came home?
I'd say within 10 minutes.
And as far as sort of coming into your room, is that something that was required of your kids when they came home?
He would always do that. Yeah, that was something just to let us know that they were home.
Now, turning your attention to the next day on the 29th, about, obviously, at some point you woke up. Do you recall about what time that was?
Eight-ish, 8:30ish.
So sometime between 8 and 8:30?
Yeah. I was still in bed. I woke up, but I didn't leave my room.
And what was it that, or who was it that woke you up that morning?
At that time, I just woke up on my own.
And when you woke up, what happened after you woke up?
Shortly after I woke up, my wife entered the room, but that was a little bit later. I don't know exactly what time. And she informed me that something had happened to John.
And what was it that you told?
I don't know the exact words that she said, but basically that John had died.
And what, if anything, did she indicate to you as to where John had died?
That he was found somewhere on the front lawn of 34 Fairview.
And following receiving that information, where did you go, or where did you and your wife?
I was in shock. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?" And then I jumped up, and she's like, we have to go over. Let's go over to your brother's house."
And about what time was it, if you know, that you got over to your brother's house?
Sometime approximately like after 9 o'clock. I don't remember exactly what time we went over there, maybe 9 or 9:30.
And when you arrived at your brother's house, who, if anyone, was there?
To the best of my from what I remember, I was there. My wife was there. My brother Brian, Nicole, Brian Higgins was there. I believe Matt McCabe was there, and Jen McCabe was there.
When you came into the home, sort of where were they in relation?
Just sitting at the kitchen table.
And if you know, about how long did you stay at your brother's house when you came over?
Maybe an hour.
And where did you go from there?
Afterwards, just home.
Now, as far as subsequent to this, at some point within the days that followed, did you have occasion to speak with some troopers or members of the state police?
Yes, I did.
And how many troopers from the state police did you talk to when you spoke?
2.
And where was that?
At my condo.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions. John.
Okay, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Albert, you and I have never met, correct?
I don't believe so.
You've testified that you essentially lived in Canton your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Moved there when you were 4 years old?
Correct.
And the house to which you and your family moved was 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You lived there for how long?
53. 33 years?
And you currently own D&E Pizza in Canton?
Correct.
I believe you testified that you've owned it for approximately 25 years?
Correct.
Clearly, you have a lot of ties to the city of Canton. Would you agree?
Sure.
You live there?
Yes.
You work there?
Yes.
You have family there?
Yep.
You raised your kids there?
Yep.
And you also are a town selectman in the city of Canton. Or
Recently elected.
the town of Canton, I should say.
It's a town, correct.
And not only that, but your brother, Kevin Albert, is a police officer in Canton?
He is.
Your brother, Brian Albert, with whom you grew up, is currently retired, but had been a Boston police officer who lived in Canton, correct?
Correct.
You would agree with me that Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
I'll phrase it the exact same way and ask for a yes or no if you can do that. You would agree with me that your brother Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I just don't understand the phrase, but he moved shortly after that, yes.
Your brother Tim Albert lives with your parents in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And Tim Albert and your parents live directly across the street from the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whom they bought that house from?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
But you still live in Canton
Correct.
with your wife Julie Albert
Correct.
and your son Colin Albert, correct?
Along with my other two sons, yes.
And you would agree that your entire family has deep roots in the town of Canton?
Yes.
You would agree with me that the Albert family is well known in the town of Canton?
We have a big family.
And you would agree with me that the Albert family is a powerful family in the town of Canton?
Objection.
Sustained.
As a town selectman, you have some power, do you not?
I'm one of 5 selectmen.
And as a police detective, Kevin Albert has some power, does he not?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you also have close friends on the Canton Police Department, do you not?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I have some.
Now, you know that Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor is the lead investigator on this case, correct?
I know that.
One of your wife's best friends is Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Okay, that's sustained. You've got another witness you can ask that of, Mr. Yannetti.
You know Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Allowed.
Yes,
And you know her to be Michael Proctor's sister, correct?
that's correct.
You attended Michael Proctor's sister's wedding, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure. Why don't you come on over?
Boy, got connections. I just jumped on because I wasn't really doing anything. I was walking around the house, kind of picking things up, but I was listening a little bit to the testimony, a little bit, and I was like, oh, it sounds kind of interesting. So I'll jump on for a bit. What I'm really looking forward to today actually is at 1:00, we'll be live. Adam Montgomery is being sentenced, and he didn't want to show up. And he put a request in, I guess, through his attorney, and they denied it. So they're going to have to drag his ass to court. Drag him. So right now testifying, this is Chris Albert. And like they said, he's a Canton Select board member, which I guess he said he just recently got that. And he's the brother of Brian Albert, who lived at the home where O'Keefe was found January 2022. Among allegations, Reed's defense team said that O'Keefe was beaten inside Brian Albert's home before being left for dead outside. Prosecutors have described the defense's claims as a fishing expedition. Chris Albert told jurors that he lived near O'Keefe he was friendly with him, O'Keefe would bring his nephew in for pizza at a pizza shop Chris owns. On January 28th, before he was found in the snow, Chris said O'Keefe visited the shop for what would be his last lunch. Chris and O'Keefe told him people would be going out for drinks later that night. Chris ultimately decided to go to the Waterfall Bar and Grill with O'Keefe and friends. After arriving, he said he saw his older brother Brian arriving with a friend and an ATF agent, Brian Higgins. All connected, all connections. Everybody knows everybody. Chris said he also saw Reed arrive with O'Keefe. Chris said he saw no arguments and people seemed to be having a good time. And, yeah. Hoax, you might be right. I don't know what he got for those. I think he got him on some gun charges or something. So he might be Alex Murdaugh type of shit. He's never getting out. Let's see. Adam Montgomery. I wonder if he's gonna say anything too. Like, I think they get an opportunity to say something. Will he say anything? Or will be quiet? Because I think at one of the other hearings he had said something like he's innocent or something like that. I didn't kill my daughter. I think at the gun hearing, when they gave him his verdict. Prince Albert. So just, jumping off for a little bit. Like I said, the numbers really aren't there for this one. So I don't think I'm not going to commit to like doing this for 6 or 8 weeks, but I might jump on every now and then. But I need to start, I think, mixing in some other stories. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what pops off. Let's see what else missed today. Oh, by the way, Heels in the Air passed away. I found out this morning. I think she passed away yesterday. And she's a YouTuber and does like commentary in I guess the true crime community, I guess, or realm. And she was a member and she supported the channel, and she passed away. It happened during a live, but she wasn't showing her face. It was actually covering Karen Reed, believe it or not. She was covering Karen Reed. From what I heard from my friend told me over the phone, but Webb Sluice is really big friends with her. They've known each other for like 30 years, Trish. And so she went on Queen Bee and told the story. But basically what I heard is that, I don't know, her hip broke or something. And she has COPD and she was in hospice, but I think she was at home though. Like she wasn't at a facility from what I hear. I think she was at home. So she had her hip was broken and she was in a lot of pain. And I think her daughter had to come by. And I don't know who ended the live stream. Maybe the daughter. I don't know. But she ended up passing away. So she was I don't know how old she was. That's a really good question. I was talking to my friend, and my friend estimated between 60 and 70, but I really don't know. Crazy, right? Oh, I've thought about that before. Like, what if something happens to me? Like, I fucking, like, something, like, whatever, and I'm on stream and on video, But she didn't have her camera on. She doesn't normally have her camera on. So, yeah, just like that. She has COPD. She fell, but not by tripping or anything. Her hip and elbow broke. Thank you, British Chippy, for the information. Her hip and elbow broke. She was 67. Okay. It's her lungs. Yeah, something about her breathing and lungs and stuff. I don't know.
I believe you testified, sir, that you've known Michael Proctor's sister for about 20 years.
Objection.
I don't think he said
Damn.
that, but we'll let that stand and then move on, please.
About 20 years. You testified.
Or if that's,
I believe, didn't you testify to that on direct examination just moments ago when Mr. Lally was asking you questions?
objection, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Yannetti. Objection sustained.
How long have you known Michael Proctor for?
I mean, I know he's Courtney's sister, brother. I couldn't tell you exactly how long I've known him for.
About 15 years or so?
Roughly.
All right. Who is Kenneth Berkowitz,
The former Canton police chief.
and how do you know him?
His son and my son are the same age, so they played on some sports teams when they were younger together. I think that's when I first came to know Ken.
You became friendly with him.
I became friendly with him, sure.
And how would you characterize your relationship with him?
Friends?
You've seen him socially.
Really.
You've been out for drinks with him.
I think maybe once.
And you've known him for how long?
20 plus years.
And you say you've only been out with him for drinks one time in those 20 years?
I can't even remember if it was with drinks one time. Yeah, no.
What other types of activities have you done together?
I can't think of any. I think he came to an event that I held one time. That's about it.
Have you been out with him in a group setting?
That event that I just mentioned, yeah.
And what event was that?
It was my campaign event when I was running for select board.
He was one of your supporters.
He came by.
Did he donate money to your campaign?
I think he did.
May we approach, Judge?
Yes.
Wow, so many sidebars. And even after the one they just had now, immediately with an objection. And, wow. In a heart-wrenching case. Here we go. Yeah, this is coming up. Victim impact statements.
Sir, I'm going to display a photograph with the court's permission on the screen, and I'd ask you to take a look at it, and if you can let the jury know.
Do you have a hard copy of it?
Yes, we do have a hard copy.
So why don't you show it to the witness and
Happy
put
to
it in
do that.
evidence?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And we'll take that into evidence and then.
That makes sense. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, sir, I've handed you a photograph. Do you recognize what that depicts?
Yes.
What does it depict?
Me and Kenny Berkowitz.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of you and Kenny Berkowitz?
You mean is the picture us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I would offer that, Your Honor.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh, wait.
To the 55.
Oh.
May that be published to the jury on the screen, Your Honor?
Sure.
So, Mr. Albert, that's obviously you on the right and Kenny Berkowitz on the left.
Correct.
Have you seen that photo before?
I believe I've seen it.
Do you recall when?
I believe that's my fundraiser for when I was running for the select board, that event that I spoke of earlier.
Okay. And when would it have been that you saw that photograph?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it was on my Facebook page when I was running for select board. It looks familiar.
Has Mr. Lally shown you that photograph?
No.
Has he informed you that the defense would be introducing that photograph during this trial?
Nope.
You can take the photo down, Mr. Bates. And the lights come on. You would agree with me that one of your functions as a selectman is to oversee public safety in the town?
Yes.
And you would agree that the police department is a key component of public safety in the town of Canton?
Yes.
So part of your duties as a town selectman is to oversee the Canton Police Department, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll let him have it. Is that one of your duties, sir?
I believe so. I'm new at I'm recently elected, so I'm just going through it. But yeah, I believe so.
And you became a town selectman shortly after Kenny Berkowitz retired, correct?
I'm not sure when Kenny retired.
But you would agree with me that Kenny Berkowitz has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
And
You would
was the
agree with me.
police chief.
That the former Canton police chief, Kenny Berkowitz, has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family.
Objection, Your Honor. It's the same question.
Go ahead and answer that question.
I'm not sure I agree with that question.
Well, your brother Kevin Albert worked under Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Correct.
Would you consider that to be a professional relationship?
With them too, yes.
And your brother Brian Albert attended Chief Berkowitz's retirement party, did he not?
I have no idea.
But your brother Brian is also a friend of Kenny Berkowitz, is he not?
He may be, not sure.
And as far as your, ties to the Canton Police, you would agree with me that Lieutenant Michael Blank is a member of the Canton Police Department, correct?
He is.
And you've been friends with him for years, correct?
I've known him for a long time.
You've been childhood friends with him since the age of 12, correct?
Somewhere around there. Maybe earlier.
And you're tight with him.
I don't know if I call it tight.
He's not an enemy of yours, is he?
Oh, God, no.
No, he's a friend of yours, correct?
Sure.
And does sure mean yes?
Yes.
Sure.
Now, your older brother, Brian, you've already testified, was a Boston police officer for years, correct?
Correct.
And he achieved some notoriety on a television show, did he not?
Objection.
Okay.
He was in the fugitive unit?
Correct.
And you know that your brother Brian was also a trained boxer, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Brian is a lot bigger guy than you are, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your brother Brian Albert is someone who is close to his family, correct?
Yes.
And when I say his family, I'm talking about not just his, wife and children, but also his extended family, correct?
Yes.
You were part of his family, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And your son Colin is part of his family, correct?
Yes.
The Albert family is close, correct?
Yes.
You all essentially grew up in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And you hung out with each other growing up, correct?
We were siblings, so
Of course.
yes.
And you still hang out with each other quite often, correct?
Like all of us,
In various combinations.
we have different relationships with my siblings.
Sure. But you see some more than others, but you hang out with your family, do you not?
Yeah, mostly during holidays,
And you go out for drinks together, correct?
occasionally,
And you're protective of each other, correct?
like most families.
And if someone had a dispute with a member of the Albert family, Brian wouldn't be happy about that, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You know that Brian would stick up for your kids, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son Colin is particularly close to your brother Brian, is he not?
Objection.
I'll let him have that. Do you know?
Yes.
In fact, your son Colin was a football player through high school, was he not?
Yes.
What was his number?
In high school?
Yes.
34, I believe.
And was that for 34 Fairview?
I don't think so.
Now, you testified you moved to Maple Street in Canton not long before January 28th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And before that, you lived at 7 Meadows Ave in Canton?
Correct.
And that was when John O'Keefe was your neighbor, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified he was a couple of houses away from you?
Yes.
And he was your neighbor for a series of years, was he not?
Yes.
While he was living in the neighborhood, you knew that he was working as a Boston police officer, correct?
Correct.
And you were familiar with him, correct?
What do you mean? What do you mean by familiar?
You knew who he was, you became familiar with him.
Yeah, he was my neighbor. I knew who he was.
And you knew that he was not married, correct?
Yes.
And at a certain point, you knew that he was dating Karen Reed.
Yeah, at some point.
Now, you would agree with me that your family has a police background, sir, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
2 of your brothers are or were police officers, correct?
Out of 7 of us, yes.
And you knew friends of your brothers who were also police officers or in law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you had already testified that you know some members of the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And you socialized with police officers, did you not?
Have I? Sure.
You've been to bars with police officers, correct?
Correct.
And you've drank with police officers, right?
Sure.
And you were friendly with police officers, correct?
Yes.
And with regard to, I'd like to ask you some questions about people specifically connected to this case. We've established that Lieutenant Lank has been a friend of yours for years, correct?
Yes.
We've established that you know former police chief Kenneth Berkowitz in such a way that you feel comfortable calling him before this jury Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
I know Kenny. Yep.
And he's actually donated to your campaign when you were running for town selectman, correct?
Correct.
And you also knew Michael Proctor prior to January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
You've attended social events together with him, have you not?
Objection.
I'll let that one question.
Couple.
So at some point, Michael Proctor came to question you, did he not?
Along with another trooper. Correct.
And at the point in time when Michael Proctor came to question you, you knew who he was, correct?
Yes.
You knew him by face, correct?
Correct.
And you knew him by name, correct?
Correct.
There was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you, was there?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did he say when he first walked in the door in terms of introductions?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen as sidebar?
Sure.
Judge playing defense, man. Can't get nothing through. Woo. And you don't have to state your objection. She just decides, I guess. You don't have to state your whatever. Amazing. So Shanny, it was, or I guess at one point was the police chief. Kenny. Oh, Kenny. That's Kenny down here. Kenny Berkowitz. And then Brian Higgins, Brian Albert's friend and colleague, called Ken the night of John's death. That's interesting. And then this is Brian Albert. Right now we're watching Chris Albert, Brian's brother. And I guess these are other brothers of Brian as well. So they're trying to establish all the connection and relationships between them, I guess. Money, power, respect. Yeah, no, this guy wasn't there. That's right. This guy wasn't there that night. Well, yeah. The last time this guy saw John was lunchtime, I think. Yeah, I think it was like lunchtime. I want to see when this other guy takes a stand. I get their names all mixed up. I gotta have that list up all the time. I want to see Brian take the stand, and then Jennifer too. Jennifer's testimony should be interesting.
Without getting into the precise wording, you'd agree with me that there was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you for that meeting, correct?
Yes.
He didn't need to say, "How do you do? I am Michael Proctor," correct?
No.
No. Do you consider the Proctors to be the Albert second family?
Objection.
Do you consider that?
No.
You are aware that there are members of the Proctors family who have posted publicly that the
Objection,
Alberts
Your
are
Honor.
their second family, correct?
So the objection is sustained and I'm striking that question.
Ooh, I didn't. Let's hear it again real quick.
That there are members of the
No.
You are aware that there are members of the Proctors family who have posted publicly that the
Objection, Your
Alberts are their
Honor.
second family, correct?
So the objection is sustained and
Second
I'm
family?
striking that question. Disregard.
Oh, they didn't like that. Oh, they didn't like that.
Now, at the time that Trooper Michael Proctor showed up to question you, sir, you knew that Karen Reed had been charged in this case, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that John O'Keefe had been found dead on your brother's lawn, correct?
Correct.
Did it occur to you that it was odd that the state police sent somebody from the Proctor family to interview you
Objection, Your Honor.
on February 10th of 2022?
Sustained.
He can't even finish what he's saying.
All right.
Damn. Objection.
You've testified that on January 28th of 2022, that day, that Friday that you were working, it's fair to say, however, that prior to January 28th of 2022, you had never exchanged personal information with John O'Keefe, correct?
You mean, I'm sorry, you mean like phone numbers or what?
A cell number prior to that day.
No, I didn't.
And at that point in time, he had lived in your neighborhood for 4 to 5 years, correct?
Correct.
So I believe you've testified that that night after working, you went out around 10 minutes of 10 p.m.?
Roughly.
Before going out, did you have anything alcoholic to drink?
Think I may have had a beer at my pizza shop. I don't remember exactly.
So you have a refrigerator there that you can keep drinks cold, correct?
Among other things.
And you do have beers in that fridge for
Sometimes.
personal use?
Sometimes.
Do you know how many beers that you would have had before going out?
No.
And would you have drank that beer as you were cleaning up at the end of the night?
Probably.
Did you have anything to eat at the pizza shop?
No.
When did you last eat before you went out at 9:50 or so?
When did I last eat?
Yes.
It's a long time ago. I'm not sure.
And you knew that your wife Julie was starting the night at CF McCarthy's, correct?
Yes.
And you couldn't meet her there because you were still working, right?
Correct.
But at some point you heard that Julie and others were headed to the Waterfall, correct?
Yes.
And
Kicked you
that
out?
was where you planned to go after you closed up D&E Pizza.
Correct.
Oh no,
With
it's
regard
glitched.
to the time that you left, 9:50 or so is your best estimate of when you're closing the doors and walking over to the Waterfall?
Yes.
I'll be right. Oh shoot.
Shortly before 10. I don't know exactly.
All right. And yeah, I believe you've testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were not there when you arrived, right?
How are we looking?
Correct.
And the food that you ordered, do you remember what appetizers you would have gotten?
Probably like potato skins and some sort of chicken tenders. I would guess. It's 2 years ago, so I don't remember exactly.
And did you order a drink along with the appetizers?
I believe so.
All right. And that would have been the Miller Lite that you talked about?
Correct.
Then not long after you got there, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins showed up, correct?
Correct.
And you had met Brian Higgins prior to that night.
Yes.
In fact, you had testified that you had seen him around quite a bit, correct?
A few times.
And you knew him, I believe your testimony was, from him working inside the Canton police station, correct?
I knew that he worked there.
Did you testify on direct examination, quote, I knew him from working inside Canton PD?
Yes.
And you've been inside Canton Police, correct?
Maybe twice in my life.
You knew that Brian Albert, your brother, and Brian Higgins were friends, correct?
I knew they knew each other.
So are you saying that they were acquaintances?
No, I guess they're friends.
You guess they're
Oh
friends?
shit. Oh.
Yeah, they're
Oh.
friends.
Was there something confusing about my question the first time I asked it?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes, yes.
In any case,
He just chuckled.
would you agree that shortly before Brian Albert and Brian Higgins arrived at the Waterfall, or shortly after they did, there was a couple whom, I believe you call them a Greek couple because their last name is difficult to pronounce for everybody. But do you remember them being there?
Yes.
All right. If I mention the name Kolakithis, does that ring a bell? Or do you,
That's them, yeah.
That's them. Okay. And the whole group was either standing or sitting around a high top table.
Correct.
And at 9:45 p.m., you texted John O'Keefe while you were at the Waterfall, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that the language of your text was, quote, get over here or I'll fuck up your lawn, end quote?
That was one of the texts.
We have that printed out that I can take. I may just have a moment.
Oh, so y'all can't hear me right now. So I can say whatever I want. Y'all can't hear shit. I can go off, right, if I want to.
Sure.
I've been wanting to say something forever. And y'all can't hear me, so I'm going to say it right now. Right now.
Do we have,
Just kidding.
just say,
That would be the time. Like, oh, it's working now.
okay.
Yeah, look at it.
I'm sorry, I don't think I asked to approach.
Go, that's fine.
Thank you. I've placed a document before you, sir. Take a look at that and tell the jury whether or not you recognize it.
Yeah, I recognize it.
What is it?
It's a text message. 2 text messages.
Okay. And who are the participants in that text message exchange?
Me and John.
And what is it that you said and at what time?
So the first one.
Approach.
I don't want none of this in. None of this
over.
in. What you said? Whatever? Oh, she said, come on over. Come on over. Okay. Man. I don't know. Yeah, I was having some issues, so I'm just streaming only to YouTube right now. Only streaming to YouTube. You're not crazy. You're not going crazy if you've noticed Judge Beverly Cano's, however you say it, bias against Karen Reed defense team and are asking yourself, how is Karen Reed getting a fair trial when the presiding judge appears to be anything but impartial between the constant sighing to her microphone whenever the defense makes a point, forcing both parties to completely renumber hundreds of exhibits in the middle of a trial, prohibiting either counsel from the standard stating grounds for their objections. That's crazy, right? Requiring a sidebar to even state or hear the grounds for an objection so that it's on the record. Improperly admonishing the defense for issues that only the prosecution appears to be guilty of, like discovery or Rule 14 issues. What else?
Having reviewed that document, does that refresh your memory as to whether or not Karen Reed, or strike that? Having reviewed that report, does that...
They're back. We'll look at this after. All right, starting off the day with issues.
As I did yesterday. So before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not true that the person who either authored or sent or created or transmitted the communication was in fact John O'Keefe and this witness, Chris Albert. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that John O'Keefe sent one or that this witness was the person who sent the message or transmitted it, then you may not consider it in deciding this case. So you have clarification a bit, Mr. Yannetti, at this point?
I do, yes. And just for the record and for the juror's edification, this is part of Exhibit 48, which is already in evidence. But I would ask that this particular exchange be posted on the screen with the court's permission.
Sure.
It's already admitted to evidence.
Okay. And so you'd agree that when you say it was two text messages, they're both with regard to the same subject, correct?
What do you mean? I don't follow you.
It says get over
How'd you know
here,
about that?
right? And then the second is a continuation of that. If not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, correct?
So you mean that's to tell him to come over to the waterfall?
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you meant.
That's fine. So you're telling John O'Keefe this, correct?
Yeah, I'm telling him to come over and meet us.
All right. And that little emoji, that face emoji after, if not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, that's...
Yeah, it's a laughing face.
Right. So you're...
It's a joke.
Saying you're cracking up.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
Okay. Well, we can take that down. At about 10:45 p.m. or so, I believe you testified that was when John O'Keefe walked into the bar with his girlfriend, Karen Reed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Would you agree with me that between the time you arrived and the time you eventually left, that you did go up to the bar within that establishment a few times?
I'm sure he did.
And bought a few rounds of drinks?
I'm sure.
Including that one round of fireball shots?
Correct.
What was the state of your sobriety when John and Karen arrived?
Probably fine. Fine.
All right. You didn't feel like intoxicated
No.
or unable to, perceive what's going on. You were still in control of your faculties?
Yes.
And is it true that after John and Karen arrived that your wife, Julie, didn't want to stay any longer or too much longer?
She didn't want to. She had a headache, so she wanted to go home.
Right. And by that point in time, you had been there about an hour, maybe a little less.
When Karen and John arrived?
Right.
Yeah, about an hour.
All right. And you were having fun.
Sure.
And so Julie drove home, but you stayed, correct?
Correct.
All right. And in terms of Karen Reed's drinking, as far as you could see, she had that glass that she came in with that appeared to have a clear liquid in it, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you said either a lime or a lemon?
Thought I said a lime, but yeah.
Okay. And you assumed that that was, vodka and soda water or vodka in some type of mixer, correct? That was clear?
Correct.
And if she was, while drinking that night, if she was mixing in water in between alcoholic drinks, it would have been impossible for you to discern which drinks were water and which drinks were vodka, correct?
Yeah, I would have no idea.
You can't tell that by eyeballing a drink, right?
No.
Because both liquids are clear.
Yes.
And in order to discern that, you'd actually have to be given a sip to see, right? Okay. But in any case, Karen did not appear to be under the influence of alcohol to you.
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't stumbling, correct?
Nope.
She wasn't swaying.
I didn't notice.
She didn't appear to be unbalanced, correct?
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't slurring her words.
Nope.
She wasn't talking gibberish, correct?
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation and she appeared to be under control.
Yeah.
And would you agree with me that she also appeared to be affectionate with John O'Keefe?
I wasn't really watching their interactions too much, to be honest.
But in any case, you never saw any arguing between the two of them.
I wasn't really paying attention to their
And
interactions.
You didn't perceive any tension between them, correct?
I didn't notice anything irregular.
Morning, Stickerdoodle.
And
Thank you.
From your observations of Karen Reed that night, and you were there probably over 2 hours, were you not?
Total? About that, yeah.
Yes. From your observations of Karen that night, you would have had no problem with her driving a car, correct?
I wouldn't even have thought about it.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that of the group that you had met out, that you were the last person to leave the Waterfall on January 29th of 2022?
I believe so.
Now, you previously, you testified on direct examination today, I believe, that you thought you got home between 12:05 and 12:10 a.m. on January 29th, correct?
That's what I remember.
If I suggested to you that you didn't even leave the bar until 12:13 a.m., would you quarrel with that?
Would I quarrel with it?
Yes.
No, I guess not. I mean,
Right. And is your memory exhausted as to the precise time that you left the bar?
is it exhausted?
Right. In other words, do you not remember the precise time that you left the bar that early morning?
It's over 2 years ago. I don't know the precise time.
Right.
That's why I said between 12:05 and 12:10.
That answers my question. Thank you. Could we have Exhibit 50? Well, with the court's permission, can I publish Exhibit 53? It's a short clip from the Waterfall. Sure.
I think the time we actually did see him was at this. Chris saw John was at the Waterfall bar and grill. Yeah, I thought it was the last meal. He was at the shop earlier that day, the pizza shop, I guess. But then Chris ended up going to the Waterfall bar and grill.
I think we need to back it up. It's started.
See it. You think they're bad drink? Yeah, Chris Albert was not at the house, but he was at that bar. I guess they were last at, I believe.
Yep. If we could pause it for a second, please. Mr. Albert, you would agree with me, this was clearly the end of the night?
Sure.
The lights are all on at this point.
Yes.
The bar appears to have largely emptied out.
Yes.
Okay, continue, please. Pause it. Oh, there we go. My co-counsel is much better at this than I. Do you know who that person is who's leaving the bar at this point at 12:13 and 43 a.m.?
Christina, it might be better without that spotlight.
Okay.
See it now?
That's fine.
Yeah. I believe it's me.
Continue, please. Okay. You can take that off the screen. So, having now viewed that video with the timestamp of 12:13 and about 43 seconds or so, does that refresh your memory as to when you left the waterfall?
Yes.
That would mean it would have been impossible for you to get home to Maple Street by 12:05 or 12:10, correct?
Correct.
Now, it was about maybe a 7-minute walk home. Would you agree with me?
From Waterfall to Maple? No, I said 7 minutes from D&E to Waterfall. Waterfall to Maple is probably less than 5 minutes.
So it's your testimony that D&E is closer to the waterfall than the waterfall is to Maple Street?
D&E's farther away from Waterfall than, farther away from where I live than Waterfall is.
I understand.
Oh, I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
I'll try to clarify. I don't mean to be confusing here.
It's fine.
I'm not asking about the distance between D&E and your home. I'm trying to compare or ask you to compare the distance between D&E and the waterfall and then the waterfall and your home. Do you see the difference?
I think so.
Would you agree with me that your home is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is from the waterfall?
I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's take it step by step. D&E Pizza to the waterfall, are they on the same street?
Yes.
How many establishments, if you know, are between D&E Pizza and the waterfall?
Just a few.
Okay, so it's a very short walk from
Yes.
D&E Pizza to the waterfall.
Yes.
Correct? Your home on Maple Street is not on the same street as the waterfall, correct?
It's off of the same street.
But it's not on the same street.
No.
And your home on Maple Street is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is to the waterfall. Is it
Correct.
not?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't understand it earlier.
No, I know it. I'm trying to work through this because, I'm not trying to trick you here. I just want to get the answer. So you would agree with me that it would take you longer to walk home from the waterfall than it would take you to walk to the waterfall from D&E Pizza?
Correct.
All right. And I believe you said that one walk was 7 minutes and one walk was maybe less than 5 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. The 7-minute walk would have been the walk home as opposed to the walk to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you have agreed that you left the bar at 12:13, almost 12:14, according to the video, and it would have taken you about 7 minutes to walk home, correct?
Not exactly sure how. I think.
Can I see Councilor Tepper for just a second, please?
Oh, Almighty. Lord Almighty. Seems like Judge is just like fed up. It's kind of had it. This is the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Should look like a house or something. What the hell? Waterfall Bar and Grill. Yeah, seems like the judge kind of had it. Counsel, please. Good morning, guys. What's up? Amanda, thank you. I'm really looking forward to the sentencing. Here's the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Okay. Waterfall. Water. Bar and Grill. All right. And then there's a pizza shop. Let's see what the pizza shop looks like. The thing is called D&E. D&E Pizza. D&E Pizza and Subs. We deliver. Okay. Mm-mm-mm.
Thank you.
It's been pointed out to me that I think we're not making the connection here, and I think it might be my fault. With regard to the timing of how long it took you to go home, I believe your best estimate is about 5 minutes? Is that your testimony? And when I say home, I'm not talking about from D&E Pizza. I'm talking about that early morning when you're at the Waterfall.
I understand. Yeah. I'd say around 5 minutes, I think, from the Waterfall to Maple Street.
Fair enough. So now, if you're leaving the bar like close to 12:14, as indicated on the video, you're getting home somewhere around 12:19, 12:20, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And what were you wearing that night?
Blue jeans, sneakers, I think, and a sweatshirt.
Okay. And it had started to snow by that point.
A little bit.
So the ground was a little bit either slushy or wet.
Not slushy, but could have been wet.
Could have been wet. And the snow had not yet started to accumulate, or had it?
It didn't start. No.
All right. So you're walking home, but it was cold. Correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that in the best case scenario, you might have had a little bit more clothing on for that cold walk home?
I think I had a sweatshirt on.
Right, but you could have used something else, right?
Oh, probably.
In light of the weather?
Probably.
All right, because you testified that by the time you got home, you were pretty cold, right?
Correct.
You hadn't, if it had been about a 5-minute walk, that was enough time for you to walk in almost shivering, correct?
Sure.
And given that there was precipitation, the snow had started, the sweatshirt would absorb the moisture as opposed to repel it, correct?
Sure.
And so you were wet as well when you walked in, right?
Sure.
And by that point in time, you were tired, correct?
I don't remember if I was tired, but
Okay.
I don't remember if I was tired at that point.
Okay. You had worked all day?
Correct.
Till late in the day, actually into the evening, correct?
Correct.
Taking pizzas in and out of a hot oven,
Correct.
as well as other food that you serve as well, correct?
Yep.
And you're now, and by the way, you'd had a couple of drinks or a few drinks, whatever it was, at the Waterfall, correct?
Correct.
And you decided not to go to your brother Brian Albert's house, correct?
Correct.
That was in part because you weren't up for the continued partying at that point, correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to go home.
Right. And so when you got home, would you agree with me that your first priority would have been getting out of the wet clothes that you were in?
Correct.
And where would you have done that within your
In
home?
my bedroom.
And is this a townhouse? Or is it a freestanding residence?
It's a condominium.
Condominium? How many floors?
There's 3 floors.
And your bedroom's on the top floor?
Correct.
And the entrance is ground level?
Correct.
When you first entered the home in those wet clothes, where was your wife, Julie?
Upstairs in the bedroom.
And was she already washed up and ready for bed?
She was lying in bed.
And where did you go when you walked in the ground level?
I went up to the bedroom,
All right,
took off my clothes, jumped in bed.
all right. Do you have a master bath with regard to your bedroom?
There's a bathroom, yeah.
All right. That would have been where you brushed your teeth
Yeah.
and washed up?
But I did, that's where I would do those things, but I didn't do them.
You didn't
those
do
things.
either of those?
No.
Okay. Did you grab a drink of water before you went to bed?
Nope.
All right, so you essentially came home, and I think we agreed it was around 12:20 or so, give or take a minute,
Roughly.
and you made a beeline for your bedroom.
Correct.
Did you fall asleep shortly thereafter?
Soon after,
Within 5 minutes or so? 10 minutes?
I started to doze off. I don't know exactly how soon after I fell asleep.
All right. Sometime within 5 or 10 minutes, would you say?
I would say more like within 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. So with regard to getting home, and we'll call it 12:19, because I think that's more consistent with what you said, and understanding that it's just an estimate. If you're walking in the door at 12:19, it takes you maybe a minute to get upstairs.
About a minute.
You kicked off your sneakers downstairs, I imagine?
Maybe. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Okay, and then you walked up 2 flights of stairs, right?
Probably ran up the stairs because I was cold.
Okay, all right. So you're getting up there around 12:20 or so, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And you believe that you dozed off about 15 minutes later, which would have made it about 12:35?
Somewhere around there.
All right. Now, when you came home, you would agree with me that your son, Colin Albert, was not home, correct?
Not when I first got home.
And in fact, I think your testimony was that 10 minutes after you got home, he opened the bedroom door?
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Do you want to stick with that?
I'm just trying to recollect what I, thinking it over. So obviously it was a little bit longer.
Because you actually woke up when he opened the bedroom door, correct?
I don't think so.
Did you not just testify before this jury just, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, that you fell asleep and that your son, Colin, opened the bedroom door and woke you up to say goodnight?
Yeah, I guess that's what I said.
Okay. And when you testified to that on direct examination, that was when Mr. Lally was asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that you were under oath at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you were trying to be as accurate as possible, correct?
Trying to be, correct.
All right. So in terms of the timing of this, assuming that he opened the bedroom door after you already fell asleep, if you're getting home upstairs to your bedroom around 12:20 and it takes you 15 minutes to go to bed, and that's around 12:35, then sometime after you're asleep, after 12:35, that's when Colin opens the bedroom door, correct?
I don't remember exactly.
Well, it's difficult for you to remember how long you'd been asleep for when Colin opened the bedroom door, correct?
Correct.
You don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Right. But it was some time after you fell asleep.
To the best of my recollection.
Now, with regard to your son, Colin, he obviously lived in the same neighborhood as John O'Keefe, because that's where your family lived, correct?
Correct.
And back in 2022, Colin Albert was 17 years old?
Correct. Part of the year.
And you knew that, like most teenagers, Colin drank alcohol with his buddies, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain for the jury who or what is Nevercracker?
What the hell is that?
What is Nevercracker?
Yes,
Oh,
Like the character?
that's what I'm asking.
It's a character in a cartoon called Monster House.
And would you agree with me that Nevercracker in the movie Monster House was this kind of old curmudgeon who didn't want anybody on his lawn, correct?
The character, yes.
He was the get off my lawn guy, correct?
In the movie, yeah.
What was your nickname and your wife Julie's nickname for John O'Keefe?
Mr. Nevercracker.
All right. And your wife Julie actually had John O'Keefe plugged into his contacts as Nevercracker, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were there one time when Julie showed Karen Reed, her phone to show how John O'Keefe was plugged in as Nevercracker, correct?
I believe so.
And this whole nickname started because of a conflict that Colin Albert had with John O'Keefe.
Not correct.
John O'Keefe complained to you about things that Colin was doing.
Not correct.
He would tell you that Colin used to throw beer cans or beer bottles in his bushes, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
So you can answer that. What's your answer?
That is not correct.
John O'Keefe told you that Colin used to flip him off, correct?
Not correct.
And say F you to him.
Never.
Colin used to cut through his yard.
Nope, that was Dylan.
oh,
You knew that John didn't like people cutting through his yard, correct?
No, I don't know that to be true.
Okay. So is it your testimony that John O'Keefe invited kids to cut through his lawn all the time?
I don't understand. Is that a question?
It was a question. I guess let me withdraw that and ask this. If John O'Keefe is Nevercracker, and he's the get off your lawn guy, are you denying that he doesn't like people cutting through his lawn?
Do you want me to, can I explain?
I just asked for an answer to my question. Mr. Lally will get up after I'm done, and I'm sure you can explain whatever you want.
So no, he's not no.
All right. Well, you would agree with me that there was a time when John O'Keefe was not home that you and your wife Julie went to his house
That is correct.
and you entered onto his property, correct?
On his front property, yes.
And you had drinks in your hand.
Correct.
And you thought it would be funny to have a photo taken of you and your wife with drinks in your hand on his property, correct?
Correct.
And you knew it would be funny because you knew it would annoy him, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, you can go ahead. Can you answer that?
Yeah, he was actually asking us to watch his house while he was away.
Right, but that doesn't answer my question, which was he didn't ask you to go onto his property with drinks in your hand and take a photo, correct?
He asked us to watch his property.
Okay, but again, in answer to my question, the answer is no, he did not ask us to go on his property and take
It was a
pictures
joke,
of
man.
ourselves with drinks in our hand, correct?
oh.
Yeah, he didn't ask me to send him a photo.
And you would agree with me that Nevercracker wouldn't like a photo of somebody on his lawn with drinks in their hands, correct?
The cartoon character, Nevercracker?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain. Next question, please.
Yes.
He's waiting. He's waiting for the prosecution to object. Never. He wouldn't like that on his lawn, would he?
May I approach you?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Albert, I place two photographs before you. If you could take a look at those and tell the jury if you recognize what they depict.
I do.
What do those photos depict?
It's me and my wife straddling John's fence. We're giving a thumbs up in one of them and a smile in another one.
Okay. And you say John's fence, so that's actually on John's property, correct?
Part of it is, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the easement is from the street to the fence as ownership goes, but yeah.
All right.
I know the town owns a certain portion of it.
Would you agree with me that that photo was taken in April of 2021?
I'm not sure when it was taken, but if that's what you have for a date, then it's fine.
Okay. Who took that picture?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Where was your son Colin that night when you had that picture taken?
I have no idea.
Would you agree with me that you texted those photos, or somebody texted those photos, whether it was you or your wife Julie, to John O'Keefe?
Absolutely.
And offer those are fair and accurate representation of the photos that you took?
Yeah.
All right. I would offer those, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
And with the court's permission, may they be published for the jury?
Okay.
Okay, there it is.
With regard to that first photo, is that, well, first of all, whose house is that in the background?
That's John's.
And that is you on the right and your wife Julie on the left?
Correct.
We have the second photo, please. Okay. That is also John's house in the background there?
Correct.
And again, that's you on the right and Julie on the left, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we can take that photo now. Now, would you agree with me that those photos give some context to the text that you sent him on January 28th when you were trying to get him to come out and you threatened to, quote, fuck up his lawn if he didn't come out that night?
What do you mean give context to?
Well, in other words, here you are texting him photos of you and your wife on his lawn, correct?
Yes.
And that's a common theme that explains the January 28th text where you were threatening to fuck up his lawn, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay. I just have one more area that I want to cover with you, sir. You previously confirmed that when you walked in your door on January 29th of 2022 after coming home from the Waterfall, your son Colin was not home, correct?
It's correct.
At that time, you had no personal knowledge of where he had been that night, correct?
That's correct.
Since that time, you know that he was at your brother Brian's house that night, Brian Albert.
It's correct.
Your old home, correct?
Where I grew up, yep.
And you knew that address to be 34 Fairview Road.
Correct.
And you knew that that was the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead later that morning, correct?
Correct.
I may have a moment.
Sure.
Man, why take the pics? I think they probably kind of messed around with John all the time. Maybe I don't know if it's just like friendly banter or like fucking around with you type of. I'm here. We're gonna know you. We know you don't like people here, maybe on the property or whatever.
Just one other question, sir. When you spoke to Trooper Proctor on February 10th of 2022, you would agree with me that you never mentioned that Colin Albert was at your brother Brian's house that night, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh,
I don't remember.
No further questions.
thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Guy's not budging. The cop. Well, he's not a cop, right? But
Now, Mr. Albert, you were asked some questions about being a selectman. Were you a selectman at the time on January 28, 2022?
No.
About how long after that was it that you came?
Sometime in April that the election was over. April, second week in April, maybe?
So that photograph that you were shown with respect to yourself and the former Chief Berkowitz of the Canton Police, when was that?
It was a fundraiser, so it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks before the election. So January, February, March something, end of March maybe?
So well after January 28, 2022?
Yes.
And you were asked some questions about your brother selling the house. Now, prior to your brother selling the house, you had sold your house, correct?
Correct.
And why was that?
Why was that?
Yeah.
It just made sense for us. You know, it was just a financial decision.
Kids were getting older, is that correct?
Yeah.
One was in the Navy,
Yep.
another was about to go to college.
Correct.
And what, if any, relation
good, Ashley. Thank you.
did
Thank
that
you for the 5
have,
months.
to your brother selling the house?
So once he found out that I was selling my
Objection.
Oh.
No, I'm going to allow it.
once he found out I was selling my house, he decided that it might be a good idea for him to sell his house. His kids were getting older. So I gave him my real estate's number, the guy who sold my house.
And that selling of the house, was that something that you would discuss with your brother prior to January
March.
28, 2022?
Yeah, soon after.
Let's move on from that.
I want to see somebody who was inside the house that night take the stand.
Now, with regards,
That's what I want to see. Come on.
with regard to your son Colin when he came home that night, you indicated that it was about
See
10
Colin
minutes
next.
after. Now, was that 10 minutes after you arrived home or 10 minutes after you got into bed?
10 minutes after I jumped into bed.
Now, with reference to your son Colin, he came home, you saw him that night, correct?
When he came home?
Yes.
Yeah, he just leaned his head in the door.
And when he leaned his head in the door, did you, similar to what I had asked you about Mr. O'Keefe, did you observe any sort of injuries or anything like that to his face?
No.
Saw your son the next day as well?
Yes.
Did you observe any injuries to him at any point in
None.
time? And you mentioned that you went over to your brother Brian Albert's house and both he and Mr. Higgins were there, correct?
Correct.
As far as your interactions with both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins that following day, what, if any, injuries did you observe on them that day?
None.
Now, with regard to the Nevercracker, what was sort of the origination of that?
It's a joke. It's so my son Dylan, who is my littlest one, he was cutting across John's lawn one day, coming home from the school, walking. This was before John had a fence that went this way, like on Pleasant Street. So it would just cut off like a couple of minutes. He ran across John's lawn one day. This is my littlest son, who I don't even know at the time. He might have been like 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly how old he was. And John yelled something to him. Hey, kid, get off my lawn. So John was just making a joke. So Dylan got scared. He ran home and told my wife, Julie. And then Julie in turn called, called Jen maybe and said, hey, John just yelled at Dylan. And I think Jen reached out to John and John felt terrible. And John came down the street. John asked what kind of candy Dylan liked. And John brought Dylan a bag of candy and just said, hey, I was just kidding. It was just, so from that point on, we called him Mr. Nevercracker, and it was a joke between John. John thought it was funny. And
Now, as far as those photographs that you indicated that you took on his fence,
Yeah.
sent to him when he was away, is that correct?
correct.
That was after he'd asked you to watch his house
Yeah.
while he was away?
Yeah.
And how did he respond to those photographs?
He thought it was hilarious. We actually showed him, other people that photo too. They thought it was funny.
All right, we're going to wrap it up, Mr. Allen.
One last question, Your Honor. So after you sent the text message as far as to come over here and then made the reference to his lawn, Mr. O'Keefe then came over to the Waterfall.
Yeah, he came over after.
Nothing further.
Nothing
Quick
further.
reject. All right, you are all set, Mr. Albert. And
Thank you.
Jurors, we're going to take a recess. It's not going to be, so you have to sit in there and let the jurors go.
It's not going to be too long, because I'm going to end around 12.
If the witness would just stay where
Yeah,
you're at.
please.
thank
Well, they're ending at 12 today? Is that what she said?
Jurors, if you'd fold your notebooks, please do on your chairs. Follow me. All right, here we go.
You are muted. I want to get more testimony.
I think she said today they're ending at 12. That's what I thought I heard her say. Which, that's fine. That gives me a little buffer in between. The big thing today is Adam
Hey there,
Montgomery's
Karen Reed, trial
sentencing.
watchers. You know what a lot of the
I'm excited for that. I mean, I don't know what to expect. Of course, the victim impact statements probably too. Oh, Lord, Mr. Mama, no, don't say that. No. Yeah, 1 o'clock, we're going to watch the Adam Montgomery. It's been a long time coming. Sentencing. I don't think there's, with the whole never cracker thing, I don't think there's anything like a deep thing behind it or whatever. I think that's all it was, is probably a joke or something, but she is kind of rushing it, right? She's like, come on, sidebar, brief. I feel like they've been very, like her, she's been very, like the whole process of the trial has been like just all over the place, like not really organized, kind of messy, constant interruptions. See people still hearing the news about Heels in the Air. Chris was in the house allegedly. What are they claiming? Oh, they didn't say that during the trial. Chris Albert. Mel. Breaking in the neighbors by yelling. Yeah, we haven't really had, so far while we've been in the new place, I don't think we've had anything really crazy yet, like a standoff or a crazy chase. Nothing really since I've been here. It's been since the weekend. Everything's been kind of just like quiet and chill. There was one chase. It wasn't that. It was okay. It was alright. It was just alright. So, I don't know. I want to hear about the people that were inside of the house. I want to hear the story that they have to say. You know? Yeah, no, we need a wild chase. Something, man. Something to turn up. Let me take a look and see what we have going on my little news channels. Oh, by the way, well, you guys know I've been kind of following a little bit, completely unrelated, but that whole beef, that the Kendrick and Drake thing. Well, apparently the Biden administration campaign, I guess they made an ad using the lyrics and putting Trump. I hate the way you're this, I hate the way you're that.
Let me say I'm the biggest hater. I
hate the way you talk about immigrants, the way you dress, blah, blah, blah. So I guess they're jumping in on the beef, taking advantage. Everybody's watched it. Also completely unrelated, but apparently Drake bought out one of Rick Ross's concerts, so it looks like there's nobody there. Oh, I could you see my screen? Oops. So the whole place was like empty, almost empty. Rick Ross. Amazing. Let me show you the Trump thing, though. I forgot. I didn't realize you guys couldn't see my screen. Boom, 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 boom. So just taking advantage, of this trending topic. One Eyed Float, thank you so much for the 5. Says, we need a candy bar, the sidebar, and minis, the side piece. Let's see here. Queen Ashley Talk is cheap. Thank you so much for the 5 months of resubscribing. Says good morning, Melon Chat. Good morning. Snickerdoodle, thank you. Monica, thank you for the 4 months as well. Time has flown. Love it here. Thank you all. And DJ Nashville, thank you for the membership. Oh, I didn't know 50 Cent did that back in the day. Wow. Let's see what else is going on, man. R.F. Kennedy says tapeworm ate part of his brain.
Presidential race couldn't get any wackier. RFK Jr. now says a tapeworm ate part of his brain.
No.
Yeah, this is a real story. Mark just said, is this a real story? It sure is. Just pop.
Kennedy says the tapeworm apparently came from undercooked pork he ate during a trip to Asia. Look at this magnified image of a tapeworm. Pretty terrifying. It even has teeth. He says it was
Damn, is that really what they look like? Yo, pork is one of those things, kind of like chicken, but pork even more so. You gotta cook that shit. You gotta make sure it's cooked. Don't play around when pork's being cooked.
Said, is this a real story? It sure is. It just popped.
Kennedy says the tapeworm apparently came from undercooked pork he ate during a trip to Asia. Look at this magnified image of a tapeworm. Pretty terrifying. It even has teeth. He says it was discovered during a brain scan. There was an abnormality that was caused by a worm that got into my brain.
The larvae from the pork gets into the bloodstream and then can travel all over the body. Yes, including the brain.
The revelation.
So it's for real. That can happen, I guess.
Revelation about RFK's tapeworm was first reported today in the New York Times, which discovered a deposition the independent candidate for president gave during his 2012 divorce. Rachel Palma also suffered a tapeworm in her brain. She says she was afflicted with memory loss.
I started to notice more cognitive difficulties, not knowing where I was at times, getting words confused, not able to actually recall words.
She underwent complex brain surgery to remove the worm. Just look at the scar.
When I woke up, I was told that everybody in the operating room applauded because when they opened me up, it was not a brain tumor, it was an actual egg. They cut it open and an actual tapeworm came out.
Oh my
Chef Ashton Keefe says the breaking RFK story is a reminder that all food needs to be thoroughly cooked.
Whenever you're cooking a raw meat, you want to go up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit because tapeworms can live in protein. And the way to prevent that is making sure that you cook your pork to 145 degrees.
Kennedy also tells the New York Times he was diagnosed with high levels of mercury, 10 times higher than normal. The result, he says, of eating tuna and other fish high in mercury levels.
I loved tuna fish sandwiches. I ate them all the time, he said. At the time of the deposition in 2012, Kennedy said, I have cognitive problems, clearly. I have short-term memory loss, and I have longer-term memory loss that affects me. Kennedy says he's now fully recovered. The 70-year-old has positioned himself as the fittest of candidates in the race.
Oh, shit, he's cut. Damn, I need to get... I had a buddy of mine tell me one time, he's like, if you just do push-ups, you get in shape. I should try that. I don't have the commitment. I just try doing push-ups every day, maybe in the mornings. Boy, cut. You feel itchy now? Oh, I like that show. Sally said, it took me a while to eat sushi again after Monsters Inside Me. I've seen a few of those episodes, I think, and those kind of freak you out. There's this other show, too, that I like to watch on YouTube. Like this YouTuber that's a doctor, and he goes into all kinds of stories about just people that have had these, like, weird things that they've eaten, and then it's, like, either killed them or brought them close to death. Chubby EMU, something like that. He has some really good videos. I ate 120 probiotics for lunch. This is what happened to my organs. I haven't watched this video in a while, I think, but a man ate an 8-pound burger in 30 minutes. This is what happened to his organs. Man drank 7 liters of soda every day for 10 years. Watching a couple of these things, there's a few episodes about sushi. There was one person I think that I thought they got. There was like I think they were getting sushi from a gas station, and on the last day that it's still good, like I think they marked on the price, and so the guy was like, that was his thing. He'd get the sushi right before it expires. Oh, thank you for sending me this. Let's check out some of the mess that I saw a little bit earlier. Some of the stuff that's going on out there. This is Turtle Boy. Posted this earlier. Let me get this off the screen. Brian and Nicole Albert just walked into the courtroom for the first time. Oh, so maybe they'll. But I don't know if there's enough time for them to testify today. If they're done by 1, I would love to see. I want to see Brian's testimony, and I want to see Jennifer McCabe. Oh, eating contest. This was. Oh, it was also something I saw. Oh, this is the parents and the kid, I guess. Maybe that's Colin. I haven't seen that. The face you make when your family has been trying to say that Colin Albert wasn't inside. So people believe he was inside. Wait, trying to say, Colin Albert, that's the son. Colin Albert wasn't inside 34 Fairview Road when John O'Keefe arrived for the last 2 years. And then you accidentally put him inside your house with your own testimony. Really? David Nader just got Chris to admit that his son, Colin, arrived home at 12:45. Chris just put his own son inside 34 Fairview. Yeah, I want to see the son testify. I want to see Brian, Jennifer, Colin's alibi text exchange with Allie McCabe. All right, I want to see show you guys this video. I guess it's far back. Oh, let's check. So I don't know if this is true. I heard Harry mentioning something earlier about this. I have to look this up, but supposedly it says just a reminder: the current witness on the stand in the Karen Reed case, Chris Albert, killed a man in 1994 named Peter Berger during a hit and run on the highway. He only served 6 months in jail. Whoa. All right, let me see if I can find. There was a video. I think he posted a video. Oh, Lord. Damn, hold on. Turtleboy posted, the only 2 people more affectionate at the bar than Karen Reed and John O'Keefe was Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. Ooh, literally grabbing asses and kissing. A little pre-murder ritual. Damn. That's 2 guys? Ugh. It reminds me of the neck hug thing. It's kind of a neck hug, isn't it? Maybe that's like a Boston thing. Like a man pat, man hug. Let's see, neck hug. They're mowing outside. Can you guys hear the mowing, or you don't hear it? Zzz. Remind me of the neck hug. When they say neck hug, the Southern people, I guess this is like a thing. Neck hug. Oh, stop playing. That's interesting. When they say neck hug, the Southern people, I guess this is like a thing. Neck hug. That's what I think of.
Thank y'all so much.
This is a neck hug.
Thank you, baby.
There you go. I told you. It's a Southern thing. Them good old boys. The Southern, the country boys, they come from the back. And they kind of put your arm around you. It's like a more affectionate way of hugging. They put your, see? Come around like that. And it's just like a close way of like, I love you, man. Love you, bro. And you cannot give a kiss on the neck and like kind of like the cheek and like close to the ear area. Yeah, like a mafia thing. Yeah. What is up, Take Mel? And we got to talk. Neck hug. Well, she really hated him. Who's this? Oh, is that Carrot and John? Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. There was, I guess, some drama going on out there. This is I don't know, this guy, I think his name is Ellis.
You are an accused rapist. You sent a video of you raping Lindsay Gattani to her, and you admitted to it in text. Fuck you. Get to the back of the line. Do not touch property that does not belong to you. You may leave the line if you want to go to the bathroom. You may leave the line if you want to go get something to eat. You may not touch stuff that does not belong to you, you fucking accused rapist. Get out of my fucking line.
Wow. What in the hell? Yokes.
Yeah, I've only been on it since 11 o'clock.
Wow, yo.
To you.
What is up with this shit? Grant is really mad that I'm the 7th in line.
We're not getting it because she was here ahead of you and I stood for him.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Fucking accused rapist. You want me to tell them about the text messages and the video you sent of you raping Lindsay? Fucking accused rapist. Get out of my fucking line. Fuck you. Fuck you. We're not getting.
Wow. That's a lot of heat to be out there in line. Here's more video.
To you, you are an accused rapist. You sent a video of you raping Lindsay Gattani to her, and you admitted to it in text. Fuck you. Get to the back of the line. Do not touch property that does not belong to you. You may leave the line if you want to go to the bathroom. You may leave the line if you want to go get something to eat. You may not touch stuff that does not belong to you, you fucking accused rapist. Get out of my fucking line.
Wow. Oh, shit. Wow. Oh, Mamma mia. Is this the same one, or is this the full? I attempted to use my press pass for the first time today. Yeah, so yeah, I did hear you got a press pass. But was unable to get one of the 10 spots. An unemployed man with a permanent body odor named Grant reserved spots for Globe and Herald reporters, so that I wouldn't be one of the first 10. To their credit, both reporters rejected the seats because they wanted nothing to do with Grant. Childish drama. I was the 8th person in line, but there were several empty seats for news station reporters that weren't arriving until later. WHDH is paying a guy $80 to sit in a chair. Okay. They make that money, I guess. Grant repeatedly slandered me and made up baseless allegations because all the other smears didn't work. He apparently thinks R is trivial thing you can throw around. It's not. Real survivors of sexual assault are not believed because of people like him. Make no mistake, I'll be getting it on Friday. On Thursday, we will have people sitting in a chair reserved for me starting at the end of the day of 1. We will take turns until I arrive in the morning. The system should not work like this, but until the court does something about it, we have to work within the confines of the system. Okay.
You may leave the line to go to the bathroom. You may leave the line to go get food.
Same thing.
You may be an
thing.
accused rapist who admitted to their crime and sent a video of it to their victim, Lindsay Gattani. You may do that. We may allow Matt Johnson or whoever the fuck to go to the bathroom or go get food.
Okay.
Fuck off.
So who put Boston 25's thing there?
Whoever the fuck worked for Ted Daniel and was here last night.
Okay.
You weren't here, were you? Were you here when Matt Johnson put that down? No. Were you here when he
Nobody
took a
seems
video?
to be here
No.
when Matt Johnson was
Because people work shifts. Get someone to fucking work
Well,
for
who's
you.
working the shift right now from WBZ? I don't see.
They're over there, you fucking moron!
Okay. Well, what about Court TV? Who's
Wherever
working
the fuck they went.
Okay. Okay.
You need to understand you control nothing here. You are at the whims of your colleagues who outvote and outnumber you by
Was there
a
really
lot.
a vote? Was there a
It's
vote?
not a vote, you moron. We're telling you with our eyes that
Who's
you
we?
are to respect the line.
Is that true? Is there a we here? Was there a vote that took place or something?
It's not a democracy, you moron.
Well, that's what voting usually is.
Right. It is a collective consensus that you may leave the line to go to the bathroom.
People get here and they put chairs because they're doing camera shots and they got to come back.
Yep.
So it's kind of understood that if you have a chair here,
Okay.
you got to.
So you can just come here at 7 o'clock and put
You
a
can
chair
come
here.
here
and
at
leave.
8 p.m. the night before.
I don't know. I get here at 4 in the morning
Okay.
and I'm paid by Channel 7. $80 an hour.
don't
to be
even-
here.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, $80 an hour. That's not bad. You think I get $80 an hour? Okay, you got me make that money, man.
Channel 7. $80 an hour.
don't
to be
even-
here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you said $80 an hour.
Okay,
Don't even engage with him.
No. So, all right. So, because I'm new to this, so
No, you're not.
So if somebody's put chair, like if I just happen to oversleep and come now, I don't have a right. If Curtis puts his chair here, I don't say, well,
We don't
Curtis,
cut.
I've been here every day at 4, but I overslept today. Sorry.
So all you have to do is just come here at 7 night before, put your chair first,
Grumpy.
and you can
have
go
to
back
stay
home.
here.
You have to stay here.
They have crews that are
Well, who
here.
was staying here from Boston 25 News?
Oh, there was like 6 people
All right,
here.
was there 6 people from Boston 25 News here? Is that true?
They were out doing
They're
live
live
shots
shots,
over
all
there.
fucking. You are a fucking moron.
Okay.
They literally sleep there.
You're literally sleeping. Okay.
You are so dumb. It's not even funny. You're not getting in. Just give up.
He's a person wrestling and he's
I mean,
And you're certainly not stealing someone's spot because you didn't get here in time.
by my count, I'm number 10.
No, you're actually 11 or 12.
Well, I count 10 if Court TV's.
Wow, what a mess. What a mess, bro. All right, so we're waiting for them to come back. They took a break. A lot of drama and tension outside of the courtroom. Not to say he kept his cool, though. I don't know. I might have to curse it back or something. I don't know. But that'd probably be pointless. It probably wouldn't be a good thing. Court TV. I had a guy cut me the other day. Actually, now that we're talking about it, I was at this clothing store, and I don't know. I was like maybe the second or third person in line, and this guy kind of starts like edging himself, but like next to me, but kind of like almost walking ahead, and so I kind of moved up forward, and then they call next in line, and so there was a lady in front of me. He walked right past both of us. Oh damn it! I was gonna tell a story. I'm back. I'm here. Lord. I mean, the judge.
Thank you. Please be seated. Close
All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
May we approach before the next witness is called, Your Honor?
Okay.
So I said, hey, you're cutting. And there was some like a kid or something, like a teenager or something standing there with him. And he's like, he kind of mumbles, he's like, no, I don't skip. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you skip. So he went. I wasn't gonna say too much of it. I was just gonna let it go. But then the lady, there was a lady that was already being checked out. She turned around and she's like, he did skip you. I saw that. He skipped you. Don't let him skip you. Let him skip. Blah, blah. I still wasn't gonna say nothing. But then I got called next, and I was literally standing right next to him, and I said, hey, like, you skipped me, right? And he's like, no.
All right, so Mr. Lally, who's your next witness?
We'll call Miss Julie Albert to the stand.
Okay.
Oh, let's go. And I was telling him there's something, human decency. Like, you don't need to just, it's kind of like, you don't need to just cut people in line. And he said, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry I hurt yours. And then he walked away. And then even the cashier agreed with me. And he was like, no, that guy totally skipped all you guys. He was just like, oh, be careful when you go outside because the guy's waiting for you.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now and here should be truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you.
Okay. Why isn't this loading?
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Julie Albert, Albert.
And where do you live now?
I live at 22 Maple Street in Canton.
And how long have you lived with us?
A little over 2 years.
And how long in total have you lived in Canton?
My whole life. 48 years.
This is Chris's wife, okay?
Where did you live just prior to living on Maple?
I lived at 7 Meadows Avenue in Canton.
And how long a period of time did you live at 7 Meadows Avenue?
15 plus 20 years, about 20 years.
And do you have kids?
Yes, I have 3 boys.
And are you married?
Yes, I am.
What's your husband's name?
Christopher Albert.
And your 3 boys, how old are they?
My oldest, Christopher, is 25. My second son, Colin, is 20. And my youngest son, Dylan, is 16.
And do each of them, where do they live? Do they live with you?
They all live with me, yes.
And your husband, does he work?
Yes.
What does he do?
He owns a restaurant in Canton.
What's the name of the restaurant?
D&E Pizza.
And where is that located?
618 Washington Street.
Now, when you lived on Meadows Avenue, can you describe to the jury sort of, if you know, about how many houses are on Meadows?
I would say maybe 8 on each side.
And Meadows comes out to a main road, is that correct?
Yes, Pleasant Street.
Okay. And while you were living on Meadows Avenue, did you have occasion to come to know someone by the name of John O'Keefe?
Yes, I did.
And where did John live in relation to you?
John's house was at the top of the street, and there's 2 houses. There was 2 houses between John's house and my house.
And if you recall, about how long did you know John O'Keefe, or when did he move into Meadows?
I think he moved in 2017-ish, maybe. And I've probably known him since maybe 2019.
And how would you describe sort of your relationship with John?
We were friendly. We were neighbors. I'd see him all the time coming in and out of the street, and because he's at the top of the street when I pulled out of the street, and we were friendly. And
in addition to you knowing Mr. O'Keefe, were there other sort of people that knew you that also knew him?
Yes.
Who were some of those people?
Well, I knew John through Jennifer McCabe.
And Jennifer McCabe.
She's one of my closest friends.
Oh, they're close. I don't know they were close like that, right?
You knew that John had 2 children that he was guardian for?
Yes.
And you were familiar with both his niece and his nephew?
Yes.
Now, at some point through Mr. O'Keefe, did you come to know somebody by the name of Karen?
Yes.
When about was it that you met Ms. Reed?
Maybe in like 2021, like, you know, pulling in and out of the street if they were outside, if, you know, a couple times out socially, probably in 2021, I would say.
And if you could, just so we're clear, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom?
Yes, between her lawyers right over there.
That's a record of like identification by
Okay.
the witness. Now, on some social occasions that you were talking about, when you would see them out, would you have occasion to socially interact with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Is that something that like you and your husband did together, or was it more of a group setting type?
No, a group setting.
And with reference to, did you have occasions where you would socially hang out or interact with Mr. O'Keefe in which Ms. Reed wasn't there?
I can only honestly remember one time, and that was, I don't even know if they were together at the time.
And had you ever socially interacted or spent time with Ms. Reed separate and apart from Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Now, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes.
Do you recall what day of the week it was?
Friday.
And what, if anything, did you have plans for that particular evening?
The next day was my nephew's birthday. So we were all, a bunch of us were going to go out that night, the night before, to a bar in Canton.
By the night before, you mean the night before his birthday?
Yes.
And that nephew, what was that nephew's name?
Brian Jr.
And if you know about how old was he turning, or how, well, let me start with this. How old is he now?
He's 24.
So just turned 24 a few months ago?
January, yep.
And so he would have been turning, what, 22 at that point?
Yes.
When you say we had plans to sort of go out, who was the we?
Myself, his mother, Nicole, my niece, Caitlin, and a couple of Brian's friends.
Now, and you mean Brian Jr.'s friends?
Yes.
And so Brian Albert Jr. has a mother named Nicole Albert, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is she related to you?
She's my sister-in-law. Our husbands are brothers.
So your husband Christopher has a brother?
Brian.
Brian, okay. That would be sort of
Brian Sr.
For lack of a better term.
Yep.
Your husband Christopher, how many siblings does he have?
6.
And Brian is the oldest?
The oldest, yes.
And so there were plans to go out that evening, the day before Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
And what were the plans? What did they sort of consist of?
We were just going to go to Waterfall.
And is Waterfall's, where is it?
It's a bar in Canton on Washington Street.
And from your husband's pizza shop at D&E to the Waterfall, about how far away are the two from each other?
Very close. I mean, 200 steps maybe. You can, very, very close.
Same side of the street or
opposite? No, opposite sides.
Now, when it came to that day, where did you go? Did you go to the Waterfall first or somewhere else, or if you know?
I went to my sister-in-law Nicole's house to pick her up.
And do you know the address where your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law live?
34 Fairview, where they lived, 34 Fairview Road.
And that was somewhere that you had been numerous occasions before?
Yes.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview Road, you went inside the house?
I think I went inside for a moment, yeah, just to wait.
And do you know who, if anyone, did you see in there that you knew or recognized or didn't?
I know my niece Caitlin was in there, my nephew Brian. I don't recall. I don't recall who else was in there.
Your sister-in-law Nicole, was she there?
Yeah, she was ready to leave. Yep.
And when you left, I'm using sort of you in the plural. So you drove, is that correct?
I drove. Yep.
And who, if anyone, went along with you in your car?
Nicole, my sister-in-law, and Caitlin, my niece. And Brian did not end up coming with us.
And so your nephew Brian, for whom you had initially made the plans to go out
Yep.
to celebrate, didn't end up coming.
Correct.
And why was that?
I don't think he was feeling up to it.
And if you know about what time was it that you picked your sister-in-law and your niece up and then went to work?
I don't remember exactly, but I would probably say between maybe 7:30 and 8, 7:30, like around 7:30 maybe.
And you arrive at the Waterfall, you go in. If you could just explain for the jury sort of when you walk into the door of the Waterfall, where was it that the three of you went?
When you walk into the door, there's a couple high top tables, long high top tables in front of you, and we just sat down at a high top table right when you walk through the door.
Now, from your experience either that evening or prior evenings, on certain nights, does the Waterfall have any kind of sort of entertainment?
Yeah, they always have, every week's different. They have bands.
And from your recollection, was there a band there that night?
Yes, there was.
And do you recall where you were seated in relation to the band?
I was sitting at the end of the high top table closest to the door that you walk in, and the band was to the right of me against a wall in kind of like an alcove, like a little against the wall.
And when you went there, was the band already sort of set up and playing, or did that happen later?
I think they set up while we were there. I think.
And so initially when you go there, do you go there and just have drinks, or did you eat something, or what?
We ate, and yeah.
And while you were there, as far as during sort of the meal portion of it, was there anyone else that joined you?
I know my niece's boyfriend, Tristan Morris, came. I don't remember exactly when it was during that, but I know he was there. And then during the meal part, I don't think during the meal part anyone else, I don't think.
So you recall, as far as the meal part was concerned, it's you, your sister-in-law Nicole, your niece Caitlin, and her boyfriend Tristan Morris.
Correct.
And Mr. Morris, did he stay for any extended period of time, or when was it that he left?
I know he stayed for a little bit, but I honestly can't remember what time exactly he left.
Now, your husband, was he working on that day?
Yes, he was.
And had you been in communication with him as to where you were going to be?
Yes.
And so the plan was basically for him to meet you at the Waterfall when he was done with work?
Correct, yes.
And if you know about what time was it that your husband, Christopher, came over to the Waterfall?
Maybe not 9:30, 10, maybe. I don't remember exactly.
Just
yeah.
if you know approximate time.
Yeah.
So at some time around 9:30 or so, your husband, Christopher, comes over to the Waterfall?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did he do when he got there?
I came in, yeah.
He came in. Did he get anything to eat, anything to drink?
Yeah, he probably ordered a drink and just stood by the table, I would think.
And you and the people in your group, were you drinking that night?
Yes.
What is it? Do you recall specifically what you had to drink?
I think I had just a couple glasses of wine.
And your husband, what is he? Do you recall specifically what he had that night?
What he would drink is Miller Lite.
And that's sort of typically what he would drink when he was out?
Yes.
And your sister-in-law, Nicole, do you recall what she was drinking?
I would assume White Claw, a White Claw.
And same question with regard to your niece, Kate.
Yes, probably White Claw as well.
Now, while you were there, who, if any, so after your husband came in, who, if anyone else, sort of came in and joined the group that you were with?
My brother-in-law, Brian Albert, and his friend, Brian Higgins.
And obviously you know your brother-in-law, Brian Albert, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that yes?
you know...
Yes.
Thank you, no. You just have to answer obviously. So, did you know Mr. Higgins as well?
Yes.
And how did you know Mr. Higgins?
I just know him from being friends with my brother-in-law.
So you knew him just sort of through your brother-in-law, Brian, is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And Do you know when they arrived in relation to when your husband Christopher arrived?
I don't recall.
At some point after, correct?
Yes.
Then after they arrived, who, if anyone else, do you recall sort of arriving and joining in your group?
Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe. And there was a couple, I don't even know their name, Colakitis. They arrived. I don't know their first names. And John and Karen arrived shortly after that.
And just so we can clear up people, as far as Jennifer McCabe, you've already mentioned her, and Matthew, is that her husband?
Yes.
And the other couple that you were talking about, or sort of guessing their names, had you ever met them before?
No. Nope.
Not anybody that you're particularly friends with or anything like that?
No. I know them, who they are, from seeing them maybe at a sporting event or something, but I've never been introduced to them. No.
And when you say sort of sporting events in relation to what?
If they were at like a basketball game and I was at a game, like I've just seen them around. I'm assuming probably sporting events, probably a basketball game.
And I'm sure it's pretty well understood with this. I just want to clarify. So when you say sporting events, these are kids' sporting events?
Kids' sporting events, yes.
And so which kids' sporting events would you be at that you would see this couple that you didn't know? Your kids or something?
No, Jennifer McCabe's kids.
Okay. So you would go to sporting events for Jennifer McCabe's kids and see this couple then?
Yes.
Okay. And if you know about how long after this Brian Albert and Mr. Higgins arrived, did the McCabe's and this other couple arrive?
I don't remember exactly.
But after Mr. Albert and Mr. Higgins, correct?
Correct.
Now, then you mentioned Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came in at some point as well?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure you say yes or no, okay? And the other thing you say, I assume or I guess, don't answer. If you don't know, you don't.
Okay.
And if you know, about what time was it that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came?
Before 11 o'clock?
Simon's good one. Okay. And with reference to when Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, came into the Waterfall, where were you in relation to sort of the high top table that you were describing?
I was at the top of the high top table closest to the door.
And when they came in, where did Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant go?
John walked in and said hello and kept on walking, I think, to the bar. And Karen came in and stopped at the table to talk for a minute.
And during the time that she stopped at the table to talk for a minute, what, if anything, did she do?
She opened her jacket and had a glass and pulled the glass out and started drinking the drink.
And as far as the drink in the glass, what, if anything, did you observe as far as color or anything like that?
Clear.
And the glass that she had, could you see, so the clear liquid inside it, how much of the glass was full of that?
I don't recall.
And she placed it on the table, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what was your reaction to that?
I think I laughed and said, made a comment like, you're crazy or something, just because she walked in with the glass.
Did you know where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had been coming from prior to them getting to the Waterfall?
Yes.
And where were they coming from?
CF McCarthy's.
You're familiar with that establishment?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to the Waterfall?
It's maybe 200 steps right next to my husband's restaurant.
So on the same side of
Opposite side.
Street?
Opposite side.
On the same side of Washington Street as your husband's restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. In the same vicinity from D&E to Waterfall, CF McCarthy's
Yes.
Water.
Yes.
Now, over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to see Mr. O'Keefe. He was at a bar. He had something to drink. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to observe what, if anything, Mr. O'Keefe was drinking?
No, I don't believe. I left very shortly after they got there.
And so you left fairly shortly after they arrived?
Yes.
Okay. And if you know, about how much time are we talking?
Maybe 10, 15 minutes.
And why is it that you left?
I had a terrible migraine.
From the band being so close?
Yes.
And when you left, where did you go?
Home.
And when you got home, as far as your children on that evening, who was home, who was out, if you know?
My youngest son was home, and my oldest son didn't live at home. He lived in California at the time. And my middle son was not home.
And so your oldest son, Christopher, he was in the Navy at that point?
He was in the Navy, and he was stationed in San Diego, yes.
And so your middle son, Colin, he was out. Did you know where he was?
Yes. He was at, I believe, his friend Michael Leonetti's house.
And at some point, did you learn that Colin had gone from that person's house to somewhere else?
Yes.
Is this him communicating with you?
Yes.
And that other place that he went to, do you know where that was?
Yes. My brother and sister-in-law's, Nicole and Brian Albert's house on Fairview Road.
And was that in relation to your nephew and his birthday?
Yes.
Now, while you were, if I could take it back to the Waterfall just for a second. So while you were at the Waterfall, obviously you see Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed come in. Do you recall what Mr. O'Keefe was wearing?
I know he had a hat on, he had jeans on, and he had something with a hood.
And from your observations, did you ever see him with like a winter coat or a jacket or anything like that?
I did not.
And with regard to the clothing that you observed him wearing, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition of that clothing? And that, I mean, was it torn? Was it disheveled? Anything like that?
No, nothing that I remember.
And with regards to Mr. O'Keefe, as far as his appearance, what, if anything, did you observe about him as far as injuries or anything?
Nothing.
Now, with reference to your group as far as at the Waterfall, how would you describe sort of the overall demeanor or tone of the group and what was going on then?
Just normal. I thought it was just normal. Sitting listening to a band.
So at least during the time that you were there were no sort of arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
Nope. Nothing.
And specifically to Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, while you were there, during the short time that you were there, when they were there, did you observe anything as far as any arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
No, I did not.
Now, at the time, so during that time between when they arrived, you mentioned that John went up to the bar, correct?
Yes.
And where did the defendant go?
She talked to me at the top of the table for a few minutes, and then I believe she made her way down the table to either Jennifer McCabe or the couple that was at the end of the table to speak with.
And was it during that period of time that you had enough with the migraine and went home?
Yes, I left very, very shortly after that.
During the time that you were there and you were speaking with the defendant down sort of your end of the table, what, if anything, was discussed as far as sort of where to go, what to do after the walk?
I do know that, I do remember, I'm sorry, that Karen had asked if we could go back to D&E, my husband's store, and make pizza, because that's something we frequently do if we're out at the end of the night, if we're hungry.
And was that something that you had discussed with Ms. Reed either on that date or on a prior day?
I believe we discussed just that we went there once, and we said next time she'll have to come with us.
And was that something that was discussed as a possibility or something that was going to happen that night?
I think right away I just wasn't going to do that because I wasn't feeling well, and I think I might have said talk to Chris because I wasn't going to do it.
And is that something that she mentioned over the course of that evening, once, more than once, or something else?
Just once to me.
So when you get home, at some point, the rest of your family came home at some point in the evening, correct?
Yes,
And who came home first? Your husband, Christopher, or your son, Colin?
my husband.
You know about what time that was?
I want to say about after 12, maybe 12:10, around there.
So sometime around 12:10?
Sometime around 12:10, yes.
And what, if anything, do you recall specifically about when your husband, Christopher, came home?
He came upstairs to my room. He was shivering because it was cold out, and he immediately went to the bathroom, got undressed, and got into bed.
And your son, Colin, have you been in communication with
Yes.
him over the evening?
Yes.
And about how long was it after your husband came home that your son, Colin?
10 to 15 minutes.
And were you essentially waiting up for him?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Is that sort of common practice?
Yes. I do not go to bed until my kids are home.
And is there another common practice as far as when your kids come home, where do they go when they first come in?
They immediately will always come in the door, maybe grab a water out of the fridge and come upstairs and give me a kiss goodnight and tell me that they're home.
Now, did that happen on this occasion?
Yes.
And so Colin came into your room at some point?
Yep, he came right upstairs. Yes.
And when Colin came into your room and he came upstairs, did you have occasion to observe him as far as talk to him, obviously?
Yes, we talked for a minute. He asked me if I was feeling better. And yeah, we talked for a moment.
And during that conversation that you had with Colin, similar to what I had asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, injuries or anything did you observe on your son, Colin?
None.
And fair to say the next day at some point you talked to and had interaction with your son?
Yes.
And what, if any, injuries or anything did you observe?
None. None.
So I know this is sort of hard, so wait till Mr. Lally finishes his question before answering, okay? Thank you.
Now, after your son Colin came home, and you eventually went to bed, is that right?
Yes.
And turning your attention to the next morning, the Saturday morning of the 29th, about what time was it that you woke up?
I woke up about 8-ish.
And with regard to your nephew, Brian Jr., whose birthday it was now on the 29th, what, if any, sort of tradition do you have with respect to him this birthday?
Every year on his birthday, I go to Dunkin' Donuts. I get him 6 donuts, and I bring them to the house, and I leave them there with a card before he gets up. So when he wakes up, they're there. I've been doing it for years.
And is that what your intention was on this morning as well?
Yes.
And is that what you did on that?
Yes.
Now, when you woke up, probably like most people, at some point did you look at your phone?
Yes.
And when you looked at the screen to your phone, what, if anything, did you see?
I had a missed call from my friend Jen McCabe.
And was there any sort of notation in regard to the missed call as to what time that missed call had come in?
It was 5:55, maybe?
So sometime earlier in the morning.
Early morning, yes.
And beyond the missed call, was there any other sort of stamp or notification on the phone as far as a voicemail, text message?
Nope. I'm sorry. No, there was not.
And not from Ms. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And not from anybody else?
Correct.
And at any point in time on that morning over the phone, did you speak with Ms. McCabe?
No, I did not.
And did you call her? So you didn't call her back or anything like that?
I did not.
And so after you wake up, at some point you go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the 6 donuts?
Yes.
And where did you go with those?
I drove to 34 Fairview.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park in relation to the house?
I pulled into the driveway.
And when you came up to the house and you were driving to the house, at this point, what was the weather like?
It was coming down. The snow was coming down pretty good.
And with reference to the house, what, if anything, did you notice out of the ordinary with regard to the house or the street or anything else?
Jennifer McCabe's car was in the driveway.
And as far as any other vehicles on the street or anything like that, what was going on at that point?
I don't recall. I don't.
Nothing you can recall?
No.
Oh, what time was this that you got there?
8:30, 9 o'clock, 8:30, around that.
And when you get there, you pull in the driveway, what did you do?
I opened my car door. I got out to walk to the car in front of me to leave the donuts and card inside my nephew Brian's car. And Brian Albert came to the door. Brian Albert Sr. came to the door, and he told me to come in, asked me to come in for a second. And I said that I didn't need to. And he said, I'm just leaving this gift for Brian Jr. And he said, no, just come in for a second. So I went into the house.
And when you walk into 34 Fairview Road on that morning, who, if anyone else, was there?
Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe.
And where were they in relation to the house?
In the kitchen.
And what, if anything, did they tell you at that time?
When I first walked in, nothing. Everyone was just sitting there, and I was looking around, and everyone was visibly upset. And I asked, what's going on? And another maybe 30 seconds went by, and Jen said, something's happened to John. And I said, John, she said, John O'Keefe. And I said, is he okay?
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow it.
I said, is he okay? And she said, we don't know. And that was that.
And after hearing that information, how long were you at your brother and sister-in-law's house that night?
Probably about half hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
And where did you go from there?
I went home to wake my husband up to let him know what had happened.
And at some point after you go home and wake up your husband, where did you and your husband go?
We went back to I woke up my husband, told him what had happened, and we went back to Fairview.
And so the second time that you had gone back to Fairview, how long a period of time were you there that time?
I would say probably half hour, not long.
And then after that half hour or so, where'd you go after that?
Back home to my house.
Now, during either of those occasions when you were at 34 Fairview Road on the morning of the 29th, you had occasion to talk and observe Brian Albert Sr., correct?
Yes.
And similar to the questions that I asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe and your son Colin, what, if any, injuries or anything out of place did you note with respect to Brian Albert Sr.?
Nothing that I saw.
And, same question with respect to Mr. Higgins, as far as you made observations and spoke at least in the same room as him on that morning?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you observe as far as injuries or anything else on Mr. Higgins?
Nothing.
And when you woke up your husband that next morning, your other two sons, being Colin and Dylan, they were at home still?
Yes, they were at home still asleep.
And with regard to when you went to Fairview, came back with your husband, went back to Fairview, and then came back again, were they still asleep?
I don't remember.
You recall, well, let me put it this way. As far as your sons, did either of your sons come back with you to Fairview Road that day?
No, they did not.
And do you recall whether or not either Colin or Dylan was awake when you left the second time to go to Fairview?
I don't.
At some point, a few days after this, did you have occasion to meet with a couple troopers from the state police?
Yes, I did. They came to my home.
And when you say they, how many of them came to you?
There were two.
And you spoke to them that day in reference to what you had observed at the waterfall, everything you just testified.
Yes, I did.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like the review thing. I'm looking at it right now. That pizza place is
one last
getting
question.
bombarded with nasty reviews. I think it's messed up when you're
When you-
messing somebody's business. You
Mrs.
know?
Albert, when you came over to Fairview Road that first time with the donuts, as far as the inside of the house, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition of the home or anything about the home that seems abnormal or out of place or off, from the evening before when you were there?
Nothing.
I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Tianetti?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Albert.
Good afternoon.
You and I have never met, correct?
Correct.
I just wanted to pick up on a question and an answer that Mr. Lally asked you and that you responded to. He had just asked you whether or not a few days later you spoke with a couple of state troopers. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
And your answer was yes?
Yes.
You would agree with me that it was more than just a few days later, correct?
I don't
It was
recall.
February 10th of 2022 that two state troopers came to speak with you and your husband, Chris, correct?
Correct.
And so we're talking about 13 days later, almost 2 weeks later, correct?
If that was the date, yes, correct.
Prior to February 10th, no investigator from this case bothered to talk to you or your husband, correct?
Correct.
Now, in terms of the two investigators who did come, you knew one of them quite well, did you not?
I knew them. I wouldn't say quite well, but I knew them.
Okay, and when you say you knew them.
Him. I'm sorry, him.
Okay. And who was it that you knew?
Michael Proctor.
Michael Proctor was the brother of one of your close friends, correct?
Correct.
You're close friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
I am.
And by the way, your maiden name is Daniels, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you have a sister, Jill Daniels, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you would agree that Jill Daniels is also lifelong best friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Yes, she is.
And in terms of your relationship with Courtney Proctor, you socialize with her, do you not?
Objection.
Do you?
Occasionally, yes.
Go out for drinks with her, correct?
Yes.
You've attended parties with her, correct?
Yes.
You've also provided childcare for her children, correct?
Yes.
Objection. Move to strike.
All right, I'll see you at sidebar on this, Mr.
Oh, she already answered. They said she was also provided childcare. She said yes, but they. All right. That's Julie Albert. That's married to Chris Albert. There's the son Colin that we heard them referencing a couple times. And I think in her testimony, as somebody said in the chat earlier, they were kind of focusing on the glass because when John's body was found, I guess there was a glass found, like a glass cup. And I was wondering, and maybe people in the chat could answer, what is the, or it is Inside Out, Herber. What is the origin of the glass cup? Because in this woman's testimony, she said that she saw Karen take out a glass cup from her coat. Oh no, mustard, no. Mustard said, I think they're all covering for Colin. Oh shit. And Jill Daniels, that's the sister that we were just talking about. Michael Proctor lead investigator, family friend of the Alberts and the McCabs, and just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. Gosh. Oh, hell no. She stole glass from the previous bar. Oh, maybe like, like you go to a store, they have like a nice fork. You know what? I'm taking this shit home. That type of thing. Beach Cobbler. My favorite thing about watching Camille is his grunts and groans. Mustard, say it ain't so. Hey, Elsie. I don't know. I put this shirt. I realized this morning after dropping off Maddie, the shirt was inside out. And then I kind of I started thinking I like it more inside out than outside in. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. The world of Twitter. Adam Montgomery has shown up for sentencing. I don't think that started yet, though. It's starting at 1 o'clock. And he ain't got a choice. I wonder if he try to put up a fight. Show up and come on down. You ain't got a choice. You're gonna haul his ass in there. Oh, Alicia says my husband used to collect coasters from bars. There's this really nice cup that Longhorn has. It's like this tin. You get a Jack and Coke over there. It's like this tin cup. It's like heavy. It's like really nice, and it keeps the drink cool. Or an aluminum cup. I want that shit. Take it home. Ooh, when does Colin testify, right? I know. You have to grill Colin. What happened? Because he was at the house, right? He was at that house party. What was going on? Boston. I get a lot of sidebars. I guess the way the judge wants to do things, they don't want to have any objections or things said in front of the jury. I guess they have to go to the side. Let's see what else.
So, Ms. Albert, you provided child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Objection.
Again? Yes, just
Need
talk
a
to
time
him.
frame, Mr. Union.
Have you ever provided child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Objection.
So you need a time frame.
Before January of 2022, did you provide child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Objection.
Yes.
When?
Twenty 2019.
Just that 1 year?
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. And then when COVID happened and everything shut down, I wasn't helping her any longer.
Oh.
And then occasionally after, I would help just on an as needed basis after COVID.
And during that year of 2019, how often did you watch her children?
2 days a week.
And she had a boy and a girl?
Correct.
What were their names?
Jack and Caroline.
And Jack and Caroline were Trooper Proctor's niece and nephew, correct?
Yes.
The Proctor family entrusted you with the care of their children, correct?
Objection.
It's sustained as asked.
You know that Michael Proctor is a state trooper, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he also was from Canton?
Yes.
You knew his wife, Elizabeth Proctor?
Yes.
And you were also aware that Courtney Proctor had recommended you to also watch Michael Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor's children, correct?
Objection. Move to strike.
That objection sustained.
But you go back a long way with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were certainly at her wedding, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son was a ring bearer at that wedding.
Objection.
All right, so we'll sustain that through this witness.
You've spent time at Michael Proctor's childhood home, have you not?
Yes.
You've been to the pool at the Proctor's house, correct?
Yes.
What? I know she's what? Hold on, can we run for a second? I know she's lying. Did you hear that? I don't know if I heard that right, but then they muted it. Did you guys hear that? Am I just hearing what I want to hear? Another sidebar. Sidebar! Ah! I know she's lying. So they're gonna line her up. Line them up. Line them up. Line them up. Shut them down. So they're gonna post something up and try to trap her. Like a picture or something. I don't know. Pool photo, right? Yeah, pool photo. Okay. She's lying. Pool photo from Christmas. How does babysitting someone's niece and nephew mean anything? I babysit kids. I think they're just trying to show like the closeness or like the relationship or whatever. I think that's what they're trying to do. And Nettie tries 3 times to get the question in before January 2022. Did you provide childcare for Trooper Proctor's sister, children? Yes. When? Prior to COVID? 2 or 3 times a week. You go back a long way with Courtney Proctor, yes. I just think they're trying to tie in the connection and how close they are and how close they're close to the people that are doing the investigation to try to, go to the, they're saying corruption. I know, I don't understand either. Lie about what? She admitted to being there. I think this is what's going to take this trial a long time. It's the way they set it up.
How many times have you been to the Proctor's pool?
Say maybe a dozen.
And you've certainly taken your children there as well?
Yes.
Colin has been to the Proctor's pool?
Yes.
And you've seen Michael Proctor's mother and father at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You've seen Courtney Proctor and her husband at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You are very close with Courtney Proctor, correct?
How would you define very?
Well, I guess I'd ask you to define very close. Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No. What?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, go ahead. Next question. You got your answer.
I didn't hear the answer.
Go ahead, repeat that.
Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No.
Okay. You talk regularly, correct?
Yes.
You text each other, correct?
Yes.
You also talk by phone?
Very rarely.
Is it fair to, did you say very rarely you talk
Phone,
to Courtney Proctor by phone?
usually it's text.
But do you stand by that testimony that you talk to Courtney Proctor very rarely by phone?
Do we have a time frame? Do you mean now or do you mean then?
Let me ask you this. Between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, did you only speak rarely with Courtney Proctor?
I don't recall.
Were you using Courtney Proctor as an intermediary to communicate with Michael Proctor about this case?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, I was not.
Are you aware that between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, you and Courtney Proctor spoke by phone 67 times?
Objection.
Were you aware of that?
No, I don't know the exact count.
Do you deny that you spoke 67 times?
I don't deny it, but I don't recall the exact amount of times.
Okay, so you don't deny that you spoke 67 times. You still want to maintain your testimony that you only talked very rarely with Courtney Proctor during that time period.
I just don't remember the exact amount of times.
That's not good.
Well, you know that my client, Karen Reed, was arrested in connection with this case on February 1st of 2022. Do you not?
I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor that date for 12 minutes by phone, correct?
I don't recall exactly. I don't remember exactly.
May I approach?
Sure.
Before I approach, your memory's exhausted as to whether you spoke to Courtney Proctor that day, and if so, how long the two of you spoke?
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm showing you a document with a number of...
Just show it to us.
Right, no, I just wanted to point out which one that I'm pointing out. So the third, I was missing a number of lines. The third line down, if you would take a look at that specific date and time and see if that refreshes your memory about whether and how long you spoke to Courtney Proctor on February 1st of 2022.
Can you see that or do you need glasses?
No, I can see it.
I do have a pair of readers that I need as well if you need to borrow them.
Yes, if I could.
Of course.
Thank you. I
And,
left mine downstairs.
I just got these and it's like...
Mr. Yannetti, just bring them up, please.
It took me a while to figure them out, but anyway.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You can't see now? Come on.
It's the third line down.
Third line down. Yes, I see it. I don't recall.
Okay.
It's a long time ago. Thank you.
And you say that having seen this record, it does not refresh your memory that you spoke to Courtney Proctor for...
Don't. It does not refresh your memory. That's where you have to leave.
Okay. Did Courtney Proctor tell you the day of my client's arrest on February 1st that she had been discussing the case with her brother that day?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you speak to Courtney Proctor that day in any fashion?
I don't recall.
What day exactly?
The day of my client's arrest on February 1st of 2022.
That was on the sheet you just gave me?
It was.
Well, I did, obviously, if it was on that sheet.
Okay. And when you talked to her, did she tell you that she had discussed the case with her brother?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you notified that Karen was going to be arrested?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did you discuss?
I don't recall.
The next day, February 2nd of 2022, was the day that my client was arraigned back in Stoughton District Court. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor 3 times that day before my client's publicly televised arraignment at 9 a.m. Did you not?
Again, I don't remember.
After the arraignment, you spoke to her again for 27 minutes, beginning at 10:58 a.m. Did you not?
I don't recall.
Okay. So your testimony is, well, strike that. My client's arrest was pretty big news in Massachusetts, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were aware that my client had been arrested, correct?
Yes, I had seen it on the news.
You were aware that she was being arraigned the very next day, were you not?
Yes.
This case involved your family, did it not?
How do you mean it?
Well, you knew that John O'Keefe was found dead on your brother-in-law, Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
So necessarily your family was involved in this case, correct?
Somewhat, yes.
And you knew that ultimately you'd probably be talked to by investigators from this case, correct?
I assume so, yes.
Right. Didn't happen for 13 days, but ultimately they did come, correct?
Yes.
All right. So this case had to have been pretty big news within the Albert family, was it not?
Well, yes. Yes.
You were discussing it with your husband, correct?
Yes.
You were discussing it with your other relatives, correct?
Yes.
You were discussing it with your friends, correct?
I don't know about my friends, but
okay.
Yeah.
So is it your testimony that with all of this going on, you confined your discussions about this case just to your specific family members?
Not necessarily.
No. I mean, clearly, you would have talked to Courtney Proctor about this, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. So, folks, why don't we end here? All right. You'll have to be back tomorrow for your classes. And jurors, the 3 cautions: please do not discuss
Why can't
this
you ask that
case
question?
with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And I'll see counsel inside our other jurors. Thank you very much.
Jurors is closing your notebooks and leaving.
I mean, that's a pretty. I would think that this chick did talk to Courtney Proctor. So they ended a little bit early today. Okay. I wonder if now they're going to start bringing the people in the inside of the house. And Eddie is trying to get then he's trying to get an answer from Julie Robert, who spoke about the case. Judge dismissed. Judge calls it a day. Jury dismissed. Judge called sidebar. Damn. Not allowed to ask for nothing. Ooh, I got a sub. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's time for Adam. Adam Montgomery. Guess they're done for the day. If this is truly a cover-up, I wonder how many juries are in on it too. Damn, so y'all think the jury's in on it too? Everybody's in on it. It's interesting though, the connections and the family ties and all that stuff. Who's who, who's with what. One hand washes the other. So you think the jury is covering it up too? I think that's too much as far as the jury. I don't think so. A prescription, the only thing that can help is a chase. Kayla Montgomery, I think she's still locked up, but she got a plea deal thing. Like she got a little for snitching, for telling the story about what happened. I thought she was supposed to already get out. I don't know, but I think she's still locked up. Kayla Montgomery.
New Year's Eve 2021, Manchester Police launches a missing persons investigation for a 7-year-old who was last seen 2 years prior. Her name, Harmony Montgomery. The department desperate for help to find her.
I'm imploring, I'm asking, even I'll go as far as I'm begging the community.
Within days, pictures of the little girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a bright smile were plastered on billboards and posters. Everyone holding out hope that Harmony would be found, including her mother, Crystal Sorey, who first sounded the alarm after she says the girl's father, Adam Montgomery, who had sole custody, cut all communication. She sat down with News 9 this week.
Very scary, helpless time in my life.
In August of 2022, the news no one wanted.
Harmony Montgomery was murdered in Manchester in early December of 2019.
See you tomorrow morning.
All rise for the court, please.
Hold the board. Okay. All right, so I'm going to transfer everybody to the Adam Montgomery thing.
Hey there, Karen Reed trial.
It's in less than 25 minutes. I'm going to eat up, so I'm not eating on camera, I guess. I'm going to eat up, and I'll be back live in less than like 25 minutes or so. I heard it could take a couple hours. I don't know how long it's going to take. Also, it's going to be victim impact statements, so should be interesting. I want to see this guy in court, finally, taking his sentence. Justice. Donnie. All right, guys, I'll see you in a little bit. All right. Peace. Bye. Bloop, 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 bloop.